Hey guys, welcome to Fearless Cooking. I'm doing this one solo today. Jude's not here, so unfortunately she's not going to be able to relay questions to me. I tell you what, if you have a question, just text it to me, 512-751-4916, and I should be able to, to respond to it. What we're doing today is last week I did the celery root. This week I'm going to do cranberries. I'm also going to pan sear some pork chops and roast some asparagus. So if you haven't already, go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees. We'll go ahead and get a head start on that, and then I'll kind of walk you through what we're going to do. And also, I'll tell you this other in a second. So anyway, today what we're doing is we're doing cranberries. I've got 3 cups that are already in here. I've rinsed them off. When I said discard any suspect ones, what I'm talking about is if you find any that have already kind of like deflated to where they're like collapsed, go ahead and just throw those away. But like that's about 3 cups right there. Then what we're going to do is to this, we're going to add a little bit of salt, a little pepper. I'm using chipotle chili powder. Any kind of chili powder would work. I just like the smoky aspect that the chipotle adds to it. It's just a touch over a half a teaspoon, and kind of depending on how spicy you want these, you can dial that up or down. I've also got a quarter of a cup of molasses. I've got a quarter of a cup of honey, and I've got a quarter of a cup of this orange liqueur. Now this one is called, I think it's called Matilda. It's a orange XO. I think it must be kind of on the lines of almost like a cognac. But you could use triple sec, you could use Grand Marnier. I mean, I've made these in the past where I've used bourbon, I've used rum. I just like that kind of edge that the alcohol adds to it. And then I'm also going to add 3 cinnamon sticks and the juice from a lime. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just put enough water in here just where, like, that's about an inch worth of cranberries. I'm going to put, about that much water in, about an inch worth of water. I'd said I'd put enough water in to cover them, but most cranberries initially float, so you're going to be hard pressed to get them covered. So anyway, I'm just going to add that over here real quick. Just kind of looking for it. I don't want a whole lot. I want it to be able to boil pretty quick, because these things are done in about 20 minutes, which is about how long everything else should take, somewhere in that range. All right, that's how much water we've got. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and light this. And then once we get this in, then we'll snap the asparagus, and then we'll get that going on a sheet pan in the oven, and then we'll cook our pork chops. So that's kind of the sequence. And I'll stop along the way to kind of give you time to catch up. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, I had said to add a healthy pinch of salt. I guess that's 2 pinches. And then some pepper. So often, as a kid, I like those jellied cranberries, but that stuff is probably more sugar than anything else. And I realized I like cranberries. I like cranberries throughout the year, because what I like to do is to keep it to where you can still kind of have some of the tartness in it and use it as a counterpoint to different foods. Like the other day, while I was like testing this recipe is I like took some of the collards and put them, or took some of the cranberries and put them with collards, and they were great. They're also great as adding them to any kind of a meat dish. So anyway, you can kind of experiment. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add the chipotle pepper. Make sure I get all that in there. All right, and then I'll add the cinnamon sticks and the alcohol, the orange liqueur. Make sure I get all of that out of there. And I've got the chicken defrosting in the sink there, so I won't be pouring stuff in the sink. I am going to record next week's session. I'm going to spatchcock a chicken, and I know we haven't done that in here yet. And the reason I'm doing that is because this year's turkey, I'm going to spatchcock the turkey. So I want to show you, how you spatchcock a bird, and then if you decide you want to, I won't be doing a fearless cooking the week of Thanksgiving, but I'll do it the week before. But if you the thing I like about because I spatchcocked the turkey last year and put it on the big green egg. What I like is, number one, it really cuts the time down. I think it took me right around 2 hours. But I also just like the way that it gets the skin real crispy. I just think it's a great way to do turkey. It's also a great way to do a chicken. So I think once if you experiment with it, you'll see that it can end up being a great way to cook a whole chicken. I'm just trying to get all of the stuff out of here. A little on the warm side. That's most of it. All right, so that was the honey. So we've got the molasses, the honey, and the orange liqueur, and the chipotle powder, and the salt and pepper. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that lime in half and squeeze the lime juice in there. Once I get this boiling, I'm going to cut it down to a simmer, put it over here. Let me move this out of the way. And that way we won't be occupying this burner up, because I'm going to use this one to cook the pork chop on. All right. I'm going to cut the lime in half, but I just try and make it a point every time I pull this thing out to hit it with the honing stick. This is getting ready to start boiling. Okay. I'm going to add just a half of it, and then I can always add some more once we get it. That way we can make the adjustment if necessary with the half lime. In fact, I can put about 2/3 of the lime in there. One of the things that'll happen is the cranberries start to get, like, as the water comes to a boil, you hear the cranberries starting to pop. Let's see if we haven't gotten hot yet. Okay. Yeah, once this, I want to get it to a pretty good boil, and then we'll move it over. Tell you what, while we're waiting on that, we'll go ahead and snap the asparagus. I have, like Lopez Alt talks about that he thinks that this is overrated. He just cuts them off. One of the things I've noticed, like with this one, this is kind of a, you can see like the indentations on the stem, which means I guess that it must be a little on the dehydrated side. So, if you just cut this thing off at the end, this is just going to be tough as hell. So, to me, it's like I'd rather take the time to go ahead and snap the asparagus. That way we can figure out kind of where it's tender. It doesn't take long, and it's, that way you're not trying to chew on, like, chewy asparagus or stringy asparagus. Another thing too is I used to buy asparagus at Costco all the time, and one of the things I noticed was that, you know, it comes like theirs comes completely sealed in plastic. And the problem was that half the time I'd get it home and the tops would start to look kind of nasty. And so, you know, kind of a slimy look to it. So it's like after that, the only way I'll buy it now is if it's just bundled with the rubber band. But what you want to look for when you're buying it is just make sure that it's kind of like plump and firm all over, that you don't have this kind of like shriveled up look on the sides, because that's a pretty good indication that you're going to end up having tough asparagus. But fortunately, only a little bit of this was that way. Move this out of the way. Yeah, this is boiling good now. All right. So I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Oh, yeah. All right, then I'll move it. Sometimes these handles get pretty damn hot. Turn this off right now. Let me get this. All right. Get this down to kind of a low boil. Because obviously I don't want it to boil dry, but I want it to reduce. And you know, you could make that a lot sweeter. One of the things that I've done Thanksgivings before where I pretty much stayed keto the whole time. And I just, you know, I probably eat on the kind of on the low carb side of paleo. So, you know, sometimes I'm probably in kind of a mild level of ketosis, but, you know, I love I like cornbread dressing. And so, you know, I'm not going to be so rigid with a diet that I, you know, avoid the things that I like. Now, I go ahead and make a point that I have organic cornmeal to make the dressing out of. I'll get organic masa around Christmas to be able to do tamales. But, you know, to me, it's like holidays, I like the tradition, but I also don't want to look at holidays as this thing where, because I have this image of what a food should taste like, because I associate it with, you know, like holidays and family and all that stuff, that I kind of lose. I want to avoid like just losing my mind around the holidays. You know, rolling into January going, God, I gained 15 pounds now, I feel like crap. So it's like, I still go ahead and enjoy the food. I just try and use a little bit of judgment or restraint so that, you know, I'm not eating something just because it's there. I guess what it really boils down to is I try to be a little more mindful about eating. I try to do it all the time, but I especially try and do it around the holidays, just paying attention to it. If I really want something, I'm going to eat it. If it's something like, it's not that big a deal, then I'm going to probably pass on it. But I am going to have a glass of wine. And I love this stuff. It's called Sketchbook. This is another one of my, you know, Costco wine discoveries. Let's see, who makes this? I don't even know who's it. It's from Mendocino County. It's just a red, so it's like a blend. I don't know if it'll tell us real quick what's in it. Now my guess is it's probably cab, maybe. It doesn't even say. So, well, whatever it is, I like it. It's tasty. This is like the third bottle of it I've gotten. Okay. So anyway, I've got these snapped. Just to give them a quick dry. All right, now then we'll get the sheet tray, put them on that, and we'll just hit them with a little, since I'm only going to do it at 400, I'll hit them with some olive oil, and then we'll put some salt on them. So I just, you know, I could have done the parchment paper on this, but this isn't going to be too bad to clean up. All right. So all I'm going to do for next week is just the spatchcock chicken, and then the week after that, we'll do like probably some green beans and some other side that would be a great addition for Thanksgiving. I would even do dressing, we'll just have to see. All right. I think it's dressing just takes such a long time from a prep standpoint, but we'll figure it out. All right, so I've got the asparagus on here. I've added some olive oil to it. I'm just going to hit it real quick with some salt. All right. And we'll put this in here for, let's do 10 minutes and then we'll check it. All right, so now I've got the pork chops that I've already put salt and pepper on. What I typically do with pork chop or steak or anything like that I'm gonna cook is I'll do it initially for about 3 minutes on each side. That way you get a little bit of a crust going. So move this over here. Oil out of the way. All right. So get this thing lit. That would have been a little more drama than was necessary. All right. This thing heats so fast that it doesn't take very long before it's ready to put the protein in there. It certainly throws a lot higher flame than my regular Ranger really does. Once again, the pork that I'm using, I say this every time I use pork pretty much, but I get this is from Richardson Farms. It's a guy that his place is just like northeast of Austin. And he does cows, pigs, all his whole operation's organic, but it's also, he's doing something I'm real interested in called regenerative agriculture. And I'm actually supposed to go out and see his place here pretty soon, hopefully this next week. Whenever I had a visit there, I'll be sure and kind of bring you guys up to date on it. All right, I'm gonna put this in here. Start to sizzle pretty good. And then he also does he does dairy that is, he does raw dairy if you actually go to the ranch. If you don't go out there, he does kind of this flash low temperature pasteurization. So, you know, what I like is that, first of all, I love the quality of the meat. It also doesn't, you know, his operation is probably a net carbon sequester. So in other words, instead of, you know, being worried about greenhouse gases from agriculture, the way that he's got his operation set up, he's actually taken carbon from the atmosphere in excess of what it is that his operation generates. So, you know, I find that pretty compelling. Hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes. Since I'm sure I was talking for one. All right, and we're just gonna let this sizzle. You know, you can make sauces and stuff. With this, it's always just, I mean, it's like eating a steak. And every once in a while, I'll do a pan sauce for a steak. With this, you know, I like just eating it and getting the full flavor of the pork. And like I said, if you know, you could certainly do this with T-bone or you know, strip steak or whatever your steak preference is. See how these are looking. I want this to reduce them. God, it smells fantastic though. All right. About 30 seconds. Let's see. I know that that'll come back to a rolling boil again, and then I'll just turn it down to an ease. It seemed like we lost a little bit of the heat when we moved it over. Hopefully this won't smoke this up too bad. Okay, 6 seconds. All right, there we go. See what, oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, I was looking at a recipe for a pan sauce with this. It was a lemon caper, and you know that would probably be pretty tasty. I realized, hey, I didn't give people an advance notice on it, so I figure we'll just leave this one just as is. 3 minutes. All right. So yeah, so I would be curious if you guys have any like specific requests for any veggie sides for this week after next. Let me know what they are, and we'll try and work them in there. But when I do a cornbread dressing for Thanksgiving, I end up using um, like organic corn chips, and then I make cornbread. And that's the base for my cornbread dressing. And then I add, depending on who's going to be sharing Thanksgiving with us, I've got a sister-in-law that is allergic. I mean, like significantly allergic to sage. So she's going to be here. I won't poison Susan with sage. But you know, if Susan's not here, then I put sage in it. I make sure that I put some rosemary, some oregano. But it's basically it's just kind of the carrots, onions, celery, um, lots of cornbread, and then the corn chips. And then a lot of times I'll add like a little bit of cumin and maybe some. Sometimes I'll put ground pork in it or ground beef in it. Sometimes I'll add mushrooms to it. You know, it kind of depends on what the, you know, kind of what the consensus is for that year. If I have specific kid requests. Let's see. What we're looking at temperature wise. This one's kind of a smaller one, so yeah, this one's already at 128. I think we're gonna pull that one. Because it will certainly increase in temperature. Now, let's see what this other one is. This was 121, 123. That won't take, that part was 114. So what do we have left? About 30 seconds. All right, we'll let it go. We'll let it go the full 30 seconds. I'm going to open this window. It's starting to get a little smoky. Turn this thing down just a little. Yeah, that thing is kind of banging. So we'll kind of drop the temp a little bit. At 115. 122. Yeah, let's just let it go for just a second. Let me check on the asparagus. See how it's doing. We'll give it another 2 or 3 minutes. That's going at a pretty good boil, but there's plenty of liquid in it, so I don't have to worry about it going dry. $124. Yeah, 120. You know, I don't like pork rare by any means, but I also like it kind of on the upper end of medium rare. You know, the whole thing around the temperature with pork was around trichinosis, and they've pretty much gotten that out of that supply chain. So, you know, as long as you're getting the pork from somebody that you've got confidence in their operation, and you're not cooking for somebody that's, I mean, immunocompromised. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing any pork tartare or anything like that, or, you know, pork sushi. But, you know, having it that's, you know, 125, 130, and it, you know, like pulling this one off, let's see what the temp is on it now. Yeah, see, it's already up to 141. So, you know, when you pull it off, it goes ahead and continues. Yeah, see, we're at 140 now. I'm going to go ahead and pull this. All right. Perfect. Turn this off. Move this out of the way. Way on the hot side. Okay. Now, let's see. We're kind of cranking on the cranberries. Let's see what those are tasting like. Oh, yeah. Great. Not really interested in scalding my tongue. Those are great because you still have the tartness. You've got a little bit of the smoky piece of the chipotle and the molasses. I like the kind of wild piece that honey adds from a sweetness standpoint. And then that orange liqueur just kind of adds a little bit of personality to it. So I think those are, I'm going to even hold off on adding any more lime because I think that the acidity levels, you know, just right where it needs to be. So let me clear a spot here. We'll check out the asparagus. Yeah, this is going to be a short, fearless cooking. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's perfect. All right, so let's plate this thing up. Blotted stone, cranberries. I'll tell you what, let's do this. I'll show you what those look like, and then I'll plate some. So that's what we, I don't know if you can see them through the smoke, that's what we've got with the cranberries. Put some on the plate. All right. That we'll do with a small pork chop. All right. That is that's a serious pork chop and cranberries here. I hope that yours turns out the way that you like it. Um, be sure and shoot pictures to the Facebook group. And like I said, I will record next week's episode. It's going to be a spatchcock chicken with a sauce that's going to be made with some aromatics. And when you spatchcock the chicken, you cut the backbone out of it. So we're going to take the backbone and kind of cut it up and use that to add some substance to the stock. So anyway, look forward to providing that for you next week, and have a great week. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.